So
Fucking hell.
I came up to the Fringe on the 8th of August. I came up from France and I actually made the conscious decision to come up for like I was supposed to come up for the whole month, but after talking about it with James, I thought I would just come up for the 2 weeks since I actually am moving temporarily to Washington, D.C. in September. I'm going to be there for all of the winter and then I'm coming back to Europe in the springtime. So I knew I would want to go, I would want to leave. I would want to leave pretty quickly because I have to move to DC. So I decided to only come for 2 weeks to support James for his solo hour and his comedy speed dating show. And I've been doing spots left and right, did Roast Battle Scotland, got to meet a lot of cool people. Been meeting up with people I already knew, networking with people I didn't know. So yeah, it's been really great.
I will go to Fringe in a second, but the one thing about comedy that I was never prepared for is the networking side of it.
Mm,
You have to constantly be online talking to people, and then you're at the gigs constantly meeting people. And yeah, if you are a dickhead in comedy, you get exposed very quickly.
yeah, I mean, I especially like when you when you meet people here, you realize you're meeting so many different kinds of personalities. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the stand-up comedians all have an ego.
Mm.
The ego is there no matter what you do, because at the end of the day, we're all looking for attention on stage, right? Even if we don't admit it, that's kind of what we're doing. And so it's difficult when you've got that many egos in the same space. You don't want to like injure anybody's ego. You don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, we're comedians, so we should be able to like, tease each other a little bit. I haven't had any problems though. I've always been I mean, my dad was a career diplomat, so I grew up diplomatic in the household and I'm conflict avoidant. So I and a people pleaser. So there's never any problems with me. So at least so far anyway.
If you avoid any questions here, it's your dad's coming out, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
How to avoid the answer.
Yeah,
Fucking,
yeah, yeah.
I love that. So, what have been some of the highlights of the Fringe so far for you?
Um, I think one of the highlights for me was seeing a guy on a mobility scooter standing up,
Brilliant.
lifting his mobility scooter onto the pavement, trying to sit back down, missing the scooter, and then the scooter rolled down the hill without him. That was one of the highlights.
Brilliant. I love that.
Um, but like show wise, if we're talking about shows, I think I mean, I got to see Jessica Ashkenazi do her show Tit Clown, which was brilliant. I didn't ever think I would see a clown using tits to that effect, but it was fucking hilarious. It was amazing. I got to see, I think what's crazy is the highlights have just been seeing people I either sort of knew or didn't really know and watching them be hilarious. And I just love seeing people be so funny. John Spillane has an amazing show, a series of amazing shows. Got to see him. That was great. Um, I'm super proud of James, I have to say, because he puts so much effort into his work. He's one of the hardest working comedians and producers that I know, and he takes his work so seriously, and he's such a perfectionist, which I see in myself as well. Which is why I like, aside from the fact that we're dating, I really do respect him as a colleague. That's how we started out anyway. So,
I was going to ask
um,
that as well. One thing I did like about James, about also fuck James. This isn't his moment. This is your moment. One thing
nah,
I did, he has a right to have an ego, and he doesn't. I
yeah,
did
so
appreciate
true.
that. Like he could have patted himself on the back and said, "Well done," and I'm sure he does when no one's looking. But he was very humble.
No,
And
he is that humble. He is
yeah,
he is like that. James, for all that he's a British cunt, he's not acting like one ever.
not only that, he's a Londoner. He was a guy because the end of
Yeah.
London came out, so
And he's
uh,
from the northeastern part of London.
even bloody worse.
I know.
Well,
But
he was Jewish, so that was a bit of a calculation that he was
yeah, but you know what? I think a big highlight is also realizing that um coming out here, I'm performing to audiences that are not my audiences. Like these are UK people who don't really like Americans that much because we're overconfident, because we're loud, because we're annoying. And so when I come into a space that's like much more deadpan, much more laid back, some people don't really know how to digest like my accent, my general demeanor. but I've been getting good reactions just even doing spots around here, and that's been a really interesting thing for me because it makes me feel like if I do bring my show Thirsty to the Fringe as like a debut at Edinburgh next year, I
I was
feel
gonna
like
ask,
it would
are
be
you
pretty.
doing Fringe next year?
Hmm?
Are you doing Fringe next year? You're just answering all the questions I'm about to ask, so I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy this one. Are
I
you doing
think
the Fringe next year?
I think I am doing the Fringe next year, yeah, because I was planning on doing it next year anyway, but uh I was not, the thing is, I would not have come to Edinburgh this year if it hadn't been for meeting James. I met James in April and we started dating. We co-hosted his dating show in May in Prague, and we started dating like very very quickly after that.
The
And
show
then
worked in theory.
yeah, the show worked actually. And I do tell people that I actually met him. I met my boyfriend on his dating show, which is great marketing when you're flyering. But it wasn't supposed to happen. I was living like a monk after having gotten out of a rough relationship like way last year, and I wasn't intending on meeting anybody, especially since I was moving to the US, but it happened, these things happen. So I was supposed to be in Barcelona on my own for the whole month of August. And once we started dating, he's like, there's no way I'm going to leave you alone in Barcelona when I'm in Scotland. And he was like, you should come stay with me and then we'll do spots and you can co-host the show and whatever. And so that's kind of why I wasn't supposed to be here this year. It is entirely because of James and I and our dating situation that I wound up out here. And I'm very grateful for that because it has just been such a good time with him and all of our mutual friends are here and it's just so great. But it does make me more confident about the fact that I wanted to bring my show here next year and I know I'm going to now. So yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing comedy, and why did you get into it in the first place?
I've been doing comedy since October of 2022. So I once worked with this really great comedian. His name is Steve Hofstetter.
Yeah.
He's uh he's a great guy, such a great guy. And I remember the first time that Steve asked me that question, CeeKay, how long have you been doing comedy for? And I said, well, I've been doing it since October 2022, but I do have experience in theater. And he's like, let me stop you right there. No one cares about your experience in theater. Just tell me how long you've been doing comedy. So I've been doing it since 2022. I did my first ever open mic at Countdown Comedy Club in Brussels, which was hosted and run by Tristan Barber, very good friend of mine, who I think you may have already interviewed at some stage. Maybe not, but if you haven't, you should, because he's a great guy, also very good at clowning and improv. But I wasn't supposed to do that open mic, and he kind of had been asking me for a long time if I would want to do it. And he roped me into it. And that first set was it was a rough
Sin.
set. Yeah. I made people laugh, but it had like no structure
Hmm.
whatsoever. But as soon as I did it, I was like,
You got the bug.
I haven't done well enough. I want to do well. And I just kept going. I became addicted.
Okay. And what type of comedy do you do? Like one line, deadpan, improv, observationalist, storyteller.
So I it's actually really funny because I spent a really long time
Bloody hope it
hanging
is funny.
I spent a lot of time hanging out with um Rick Diaz,
Oh,
Sad Man Rick, and I spent a lot of time hanging out with Andy Huggins, who I toured with, and they are one-liner comics,
yeah.
right? And as a result, I absorbed a lot of that. So I have a tendency to prefer to write one-liner jokes because they come to me pretty quickly. But I'm also a storyteller. So basically, what's happened now is that I usually tell my stories and I put one liners at the beginning, the middle, and the end. But I like telling stories. That's usually what I go for. It's not really observational as much as it is just going through every traumatic event that I've ever been through and then like tying it into the crowd.
Hmm.
Um, I ran a comedy heckle show for a while in Brussels as well. I love crowd work. So I will say that I do get into that a lot. I do enjoy
Okay.
crowd work.
And how has sort of your crowd work evolved since you started, or is it something that you thought naturally came to you?
Uh, I think it came to me pretty quickly. I started running Raiders Comedy Club in Brussels. I stopped doing that after a while because I was getting, not to toot my own horn, but I was finally getting booked a lot. And so I didn't have time to run the show anymore. And
Yeah.
then my ex got, not to be a downer, got diagnosed with cancer. So I didn't have time to run that show. But when I was running that show, I really learned how to MC. Um, and I really fell for emceeing and crowd work because you don't have that fear that your jokes are going to be rejected. You're not really doing that much material. So you know that you're just relying on your natural funny
Mm.
and you're looking for the funny in the crowd. And I think it evolved. My crowd work did evolve for the better.
Okay.
It certainly I used to be scared about being a little bit dark in my crowd work, but now I'm no longer scared of that. I'm very much a dark humor comedian.
Okay.
For
So
sure.
do you prefer doing sort of like the MC into doing like a fixed bill?
Yeah, I mean I hang on, sorry. There was a bit of noise there. Can you repeat the question? I think I understood, but
Yeah. Do you prefer doing like, your MCing to doing like a fixed 10, a fixed 20, a fixed bill?
yeah, that's what I thought you said. I You know what? I think I do have more of a fun time emceeing, just because I love connecting with the audience. So basically, what I've done now is I find a way to at least do 1 minute of really like punchy, solid crowd interaction in any set that I do now, even if it's short, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the audience feeling like they're connected to me, connected to the jokes, and having a good time. So I recognize also the power of making the audience feel like they're a part of it.
Mm.
It makes them appreciate the show so much more when they feel like you actually care. So because I do prefer the crowd work aspect, I've now just incorporated 1 minute in, even if it's a short set, just for myself. And if it's a long set, then I'll do like five at the top.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't like MCing personally.
Really?
I prefer doing a fixed bit on and off because when I do MC, I just chop up my own material, and it's something I'm getting better at. But you feel like you're not doing it justice quite yet enough. Like I feel like my fixed stuff is a lot better, and I like to drink, so I like to go on, do my bit, and then just go, hang out. To be honest,
Funny.
that's
I
more
get
me.
that. I
So
get that.
with your comedy, sort of looking back on it, are there any jokes that you thought at the time were brilliant, and you look back and you think, why the hell did I think that was funny?
Can I say all of them? No. I go through cycles of imposter syndrome a lot. Where I'm like, what am I doing here? Even if I have a really good night, like when I was opening for Morgan J in a room of, I can't remember the exact numbers. It was somewhere between 800 and over 1,000. I can't remember. It was a packed room in one of the best concert halls in Brussels at the time. And I just remember thinking like halfway through my set, because they were having a good time. But I just remember thinking, what am I doing here? And there's just moments where uh I really enjoy comedy, but sometimes it gets you, that feeling. I mean, I forget what the question was, but I
No,
got a
no,
little
no. I do get the imposter syndrome. It's weird to actually be making a living out of something you genuinely
yeah,
actually enjoy doing.
yeah, that's it.
And then but then, like I said, the sort of the insecurity comes into play. Like, why are these people here to see me? Why are they laughing at me? And then, yeah, like you completely. I think every comedian gets in their own head at least 10
Yeah,
times.
yeah, for sure.
Do you still get nervous before you go up? I mean, I still do.
I definitely get nervous. I actually had my family knows this. Some people who know me from my childhood know this. I've always had horrific stage fright. And I've also made some pretty embarrassing mistakes on stage, like when I was doing theater and when I was in middle school and high school. Um,
Such as.
I would bomb. I would, flub a line, get a line wrong, forget my script in front of everyone. and I was really bad at public speaking. I actually my theater teacher, the theater teacher in my high school when I was in Paris, pushed me to do theater to help me to get rid of my stage fright. Um, some shows I have no stage fright, and those are the shows that concern me. I think the best shows that I do are the ones where I'm just a little bit nervous, just the right amount of nervous. If I'm really, really nervous, I'm concerned. And if I'm not nervous at all, I'm concerned. But yeah, um, I do get this feeling sometimes before I go on stage where I just get extremely cold. That's how my stage fright manifests. It's like I'm extremely freeze. I get all of a sudden I get freezing cold. And I have to piss.
No, I have a routine shit every 10 minutes before every time. Don't know why. Like, I cannot eat anything for 3 days. 10 minutes when I'm about to perform, like clockwork. Like, that's my
I,
bodily bowel movement, CeeKay. I'm glad you now know that.
I'm so happy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Say that with you.
I'm so glad to hear that, honestly. Like, who doesn't love a good pre-show shit? But I actually weirdly I don't go pee before a show. I always wait until after because I find that tension is actually like it actually spices up the show. It's
Okay,
like
brilliant. I'm not going to
I'm
unbox that one, believe it or not.
I'm like maybe this is like a female thing, but like I feel like it keeps me on my toes.
I'll get
Yeah.
on the spot 'cause you need to piss so badly.
Yeah.
Great
It's
form
like
of
I gotta focus. It's like I really have to pee, but you can't pee. You got to get through this show. And then it's like a reward, At the end of the show, I get to go pee like a dog. I
Yes. You hate if they ever ask for an encore. It's just like, right, I'm ready to go here. so
literally me.
so we've said Paris, we've said Prague, we're in Edinburgh right now. Where else have we gigged?
Uh, I've gigged all around Europe, continental Europe. I've done a bunch of places in the Netherlands, a bunch of places in Belgium, France. I've done Vienna. I've done I think I've done at least one place. I have done Germany. Haven't done Switzerland. I've yeah, obviously done Barcelona. Been up to the UK. I did a few shows in London. Uh,
Whereabouts in London? Do we remember?
yeah, I did a Top Secret
Oh, yeah.
opening for Wyatt Figueredo,
Oh,
who I toured with, and I'm gonna be probably touring with again next year
oh.
if I remember correctly. And then I did in London. I just hit a couple open mics. One of them was run by Najambi McGrath. I might be butchering the pronunciation. That might be pronounced Jambi with the silent N. She's great. She's here at the Fringe too. It was nice to run into her again. Um, done a couple of spots in the US. Yeah, I've been a little bit. I've been all around. Uh, I think my favorite place so far, it's got to be a tie between, it's got to be a toss up between Barcelona and Edinburgh at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So a bit of a traveller, a bit of a gypsy.
Yeah.
Would you say your comedy is quite universal, or do you have to adapt it for each place?
It's a really good question. Um, my comedy is it's messed up no matter where I go.
Oh,
Um,
good answer. I like
it's it definitely caters to a very specific demographic. Uh,
that.
I
Chaz?
think it's usually the people who tend to relate the most to my show are women who have made a lot of mistakes in their dating career and people who have mixed nationality parents.
Okay, well,
Um,
I obviously want an example right now of a dark joke that would only appeal to young, fucked up women.
mm, I think it's better. I think it's better if people come see my show. Honestly,
Oh,
it's better.
that's your fucking father coming out. That's the diplomat answer I was
Yeah, that's
looking
my dad.
for.
Yeah. I will say, uh, does it, it's such a good question. Is it universal? I don't think it's universal. No, I think I do adapt certain jokes. Like if I have a joke that's about British people, I have this one joke that's about dating, it was about dating a Flemish man.
Okay, cool.
Um, that is not applicable outside of Belgium because people don't have a reference for what Flemish is. So I've changed it, and I've changed it to be French people. I've changed it to be British people, and the different nationalities for that joke work differently in every country that I've been in.
Okay, but like the premise and the punchline are still
Yeah,
on point, but we just
yeah,
change the context
yeah,
each time. It's quite
yeah.
nice to have in your arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah. I
Cool.
have a few jokes like that where if you just change the nationality, the joke still works, but it won't hit the same if you use the original nationality, which I find really funny because people are like, I don't find that funny if it's about a Spaniard or
Mm,
something. So yeah.
fair enough. I did a bit in Costa Brava, and being drunk myself and like not really in for it, like I did a lot of like London colloquial terminology, and my slang naturally came out like my Cockney, and I just realised that it was yeah, like wasn't universal.
Yeah.
Something you sort of need to work on. Okay, what would you sort of like to get out of? Oh yeah, like ask this question. What do you want out of comedy, and what does the comedy world get out of having you in it?
Oh my God, that's a really good question again. What do
Okay.
I want out of comedy? I um I want to just I think I want to learn I think I want to learn more of who I am. And I think comedy is a great way to do that because it forces me to go through my life and to find the funny and everything that's fucked up about my life. And it also helps me to understand my identity better. But also, I think I just want to become funnier. I want out of comedy to become funnier and funnier, like every day, every week, every month, every year. I just want to become a funnier person.
How would you
Um,
measure? How would you measure that?
I think it's just I think it's making people who I know personally laugh more and more.
I think that's the hardest crowd there is.
It's not so much about the people I don't know, but making people like my dad laugh more than I ever have before, making my best friend laugh more and more. I would love to have them. Like some people hate having their loved ones in their audiences. I think if I have a loved one in the audience and they are laughing their ass off, then it's a really good measure of how I'm doing because they're sometimes the most biased judges of you. Um, and then I think what the comedy world stands to gain from me is I'm very, very vulnerable. And I think that's a lot of comedians share that. I think most comedians are really vulnerable, but I also have a really silly theatrical side, and that's something that I'm exploring. That is explored in my hour as well, which I guess I'm trying to bring something to my work where I show like that you can be really, really dark without it, without it being the end of the world. I'm hoping that that's something that I can bring more of to the comedy world. It's something that already exists, but I would love to just contribute my little piece of my personality to that existing genre, I guess.
Hmm. No, I love that, and I remember speaking to a comedian fucking ages ago, and he said like on like Netflix and stuff, even up till last year, there was a category called women's comedy, and they were still shocking because how it got segmented to normal comedy even up to last year, and I found that absolutely ludicrous that it had to be categorized because funny is funny,
Yeah.
and I love it so much because you like the comedy that you can relate to, and I feel like for the last sort of 20 years up till the last couple of years, women in comedy has usually been stereotyped as like titch joke, fanny jokes, men are bastard jokes, and I love hearing. Not that I'm not an advocate for women's fucking depression, but I love hearing like relatable stories that it's like, hey, like we will joke about anything. We can be just as dark and twisted, and I'm such an advocate for that. Like hearing the other side of stories I never get to hear myself.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. But you make a really good point about women's comedy being compartmentalized as a separate entity from male comedy or comedy in general. Um, It's part of the reason why, and this is my hot take, and I feel that I may get some flack for this. I think all women comedy lineups and shows are an amazing space to have. And I think the occasional one of those is very good. But I also think that the best way for women to be challenged, to grow as comedians, to become funnier, is to be on a level playing field with every other gender and to show that they are just as funny in the same environment.
100% agree.
That is my hot take.
Yeah.
And that is also why I have never run a comedy showcase that is just for women.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that. And it's because I believe, like, yeah, I've had the occasional lineup at my open mics where the whole lineup was women, like for International Women's Day, for example, because you gotta do it, right?
Standard.
I'm also familiar with, I know what it feels like to be the only woman on a lineup. And I feel like I'm representing the entire gender when I'm standing on that stage. And I have a lot to prove because I don't want to be like, oh, that one woman. And then they go, oh, yeah, this confirms women are not funny. If I bomb on a lineup with only men, it just confirms what people already know, which is that women aren't funny. Obviously, what I'm saying is an outdated stereotype.
Yeah.
But I feel that women in comedy need two things. We need more female role models who are high up the comedy food chain, who have experience, so that we can learn from female comedy role models. And we need more opportunities in the same way that guys get, I think, to just be in the same spaces. And I feel like when you're on a lineup with only women, it's a lot of clapter, a lot of false support because yay, we're all in
safe spaces.
Yeah.
Like where you should never feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. On this, okay, let me rephrase this before I get my hate. As a female comedian, you should never feel comfortable on the stage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Off stage, 100 fucking percent. Do you know what I mean? You should never feel not safe. Like, I'm not throwing that one out there. But on the stage, you need to be competing as an equal playing field.
Now, I fully agree with you, and I feel there's maybe something about this that I'm saying that is wrong, because I'm often wrong, but I just feel like it's really great to have like, you know, the whole like minority lineups thing. So all LGBTQ, all people of color, all people of this religion or that religion, or all people of this gender or that gender. But you never hear, for example, like, oh, give it up for our all male lineup. You never see that. And I feel like I just feel this is probably my most controversial opinion. Um, but also it's definitely a struggle talking about my comedy identity, something that I would love to bring to the comedy world is like I want to do more. I don't necessarily want to be like that, but I want to do more of stuff that like Whitney Cummings and Nikki Glazer do, which is they show that you can be extremely funny while being extremely feminine.
100. You look at Glazer's roasting skills. Fuck me, she is brilliant. Like she is
so
cutthroat. Like you would never say, "Oh, she's a good roaster for a female." Like that thought would never dare cross your mind. You would say, "Fuck me, she is a beast on the stage because she is a beast on the stage."
She's so good.
Like,
And here's like when I started out comedy, I was dressing a lot like this, right? On stage, like hoodie and stuff. And then I went through a phase of dressing more like formal. So I do a lot of people notice this on my page where I'm wearing a button down and glasses. And people often meet me in real life and they're like, oh, we thought you were kind of like this boring nerd. Just based on the visual brand that I have on stage, which is like I wear glasses and I wear button downs so that when I contrast it with the horrible, dirty, dark things that I say, the contrast makes it funny. But more recently, I think maybe also it's James that brings this out in me because he makes me feel it. And I hate using this kind of therapy speak, but he does make me feel safe enough to be a lot more girly, which is something I haven't experienced with previous men that I've dated. I feel like I can be really girly around him. And so I felt encouraged. And Wyatt Figredo also encouraged me to do this. He's like, you know what? You should just test it out. Just test it out. See how you feel being more feminine on stage. Because I'm honestly, I have been a trousers girl on stage. Like I've never worn a skirt, never worn a dress, never worn a revealing top or anything. Because I feel that it does play into the perception of the audience, the perception that the audience has of you. But I will say that it's actually kind of funny to be having male comics telling you to wear less on stage. But at the
I think
same time,
I
I
think
love
it
it.
dep- I think it depends where they're coming from. If it's like sleazy Gavin in the corner rubbing his hands saying it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like we might have a problem here. But
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's
yeah.
genuine advice and but then in all honesty, my hot take on it is play the card you're given. I'm a fat guy. I make fat jokes. I'm not going to slide into your DMs here, but you're a good looking girl. Capitalize on that.
Yeah, I just realized like
Yeah.
I think I may have been I also like obviously realistically, I only have so many years of this left to enjoy. And a lot of female comedians do talk about the fact that they really downplay their appearance to be fun to appear funnier, to like to allow themselves to be funnier or whatever. And I feel like women should be able to wear a hoodie and everything else and be funny, but equally they should be able to wear like the most revealing outfit you can imagine and still be really funny. I think Zhao Ying Summers is a good example. She doesn't wear ridiculously revealing clothes, but she's very, very feminine and she's hilarious and dark. And that's kind of what I'm trying to be. And I unfortunately I have a lot of Christian relatives and a lot of former teachers and friends from school that follow me on my comedy page. And I have a dark sense of humor. And so many times I've tried to be like, no, I'm not that dark. No, I am. I am silly. I'm very goofy. My friends can tell you this. Like I do Kermit impressions on the regular. I do a lot of accents on the regular. I do silly faces on the regular. I think my soul is Jim Carrey, but my delivery is like I could never aspire to be as funny as either of these guys. But my
Right.
soul
I
is Jim
can't.
Carrey. My soul is Jim Carrey, and my desired vibe on stage is like Anthony Jeselnik. So
CK,
it's
one thing
like,
I've noticed, dude, you hold yourself back a little bit. I'm this dark, but I only go this dark. I can never aspire to be that. You can.
it's true. I mean, I think my ideal who I want to be on stage is like I think who I want to be on stage is like the perfect cross section. It like if you take Steve Martin, Jim Carrey, Anthony Jeselnik, and Dave Chappelle in a blender,
It's
and
a
and also
blender.
Nikki Glazer,
It's the topping.
that's the kind of vibe that I want to give off when I'm on stage. I want my comedy to be different because I'm me. And I want my relationship with the audience to be different because I'm me. But that's like what I want. I want to be like I do want to be silly, but I have such a dark sense of humor because of the shit that I've been through, and I just have to own that now, I think.
Okay. And do you think there will get to a point in comedy, because being fairly new, there will be a point in comedy where you're like, you know what, fuck it. I am going to say anything. I am going to wear what I want. You know what I mean? If we always aspire to be like someone else, we're always going to be second best.
Yeah, true.
Right.
I think there is going to come a point. Again, I'm so early in my stand-up journey,
Bullshit.
and I live constantly with the imposter syndrome. I work really hard. I am so lucky that I have so many comedy friends who support me and lift me up. But I have this urge, which maybe you might also be familiar with, to get better at comedy faster, to get higher in my comedy career faster, which is not realistic because time passes the way that it passes, and you're just gonna get to those stages at the time that you get to them at.
Agree with that. But the best advice I was ever given from Chris Norton Walker when I started out was get good. That was the only advice he could give me. I was like, oh, what did you think of that? What did you think? It was like, to be honest, it was shit. Just get better.
Yeah,
And like that was the most rawest advice. Like he didn't mean it in a hurtful way. He meant just get better. Just work
yeah,
harder at it. Do more stage time. I mean, actually, analyze your stuff. So
yeah.
like you say you want to get better quicker. What could we put in place to get better quicker?
Hmm. I think I am my harshest critic, and
You've got to be.
I think we have to be. You can't have any delusions about being funnier than you really are, but you also can't tell yourself that you're not funny because then you quit comedy, right?
Also, I
Um,
think with comedy, you get the quickest reviews. No, going. If they laugh, it's going well. If they don't laugh, it's not going well. Like we get live feedback.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's such an interesting thing because when I did theater, I was very much in drama. I never did any comedies. And I realized how much easier it is to make people cry than it is to make them laugh. I have some really sad, sad shit in my hour. And I did tell one joke where a woman came up to me after the show, like tears in her eyes, and she's like, I really relate to this, and it was so hard to watch this. I have moments like that in my material, which are hard hitting. But then that comes from my background in theater, and it's easy for me to access that. It's hard for me to access what it is that makes people bend over in their chairs laughing. And I think what gets people is either like being shocked into laughter, or they're laughing because they realize that they have a similar experience. They
Do
see
you know what?
themselves in the joke.
You've just literally blown my mind a little bit there. A comedy hour doesn't have to always be about comedy. It can be that emotional roller coaster you take them through. Obviously, you want it to be funny, but you haven't got to make them laugh every second. You've got to take them on an emotional journey,
Hmm.
and that's beautiful in its own way. Like I have got for the X amount of people here, and I am making them laugh. I am making them cry. I I can be I am like I can be a narcissistic god with their emotions. I am the bipolar queen right now of these people. I will fluctuate them as I please.
Yeah,
That's
it's kind of.
brilliant.
I mean, I just again just seeing Feckin today. Roger O'Sullivan's show is a great example. It's his show is a tribute to his dad, and it's hilarious. But you do go. It's not a very. There aren't really moments of extreme sadness, but there are deeper moments. There are moments. And sorry, just a second.
Oh yeah,
There are deeper moments in that show, and I think that's kind of what I want. I want something that shows that I have a sense of humor to get through hard shit, so that people in the audience can also maybe be like, "Oh, I've been through similar hard shit, and it's okay if I laugh about it." I think that's what matters to me when it comes to comedy. Is there are things that I've been through that I think without stand-up comedy, and I'm not just being a pretentious or dramatic prick here. I really think that without stand-up comedy, there are some things that I just would not have been able to get through. And I want to give that to somebody in the audience who needs it, which sounds pretentious, but I've had people come up to me after the show and say that they're like, I really needed that. And at my low level of comedy, comparatively, that felt like I was giving back in a way. It felt good.
I love it. So, like, would you say in a way being on stage is like the cheap man's therapy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. It is definitely. I think it is therapy because I mean it's been proven before. But if you bring a clown into a hospital and make people laugh, it helps them get better. So bringing a bunch of people to laugh together in a room is going to have the same effect whether you're sick or not. Um,
I love that. Well, so I've interviewed someone before, and she had cancer wards, and she goes about Barbie butt because she had colon cancer, so they had to sew her butt up. So it's called Barbie butt, which I thought was brilliant. And she said the darkest room you'll ever find for comedy is a cancer ward because they will laugh at their own, the things they're going through. And it was just like, Joe, it was like beautiful how dark and twisted they could be, and
yeah.
laughing at their own sort of demise. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. When it does come to comedy, do you think there are things you can and can't joke about, or is anything on the table?
You can joke about absolutely, you should joke about absolutely anything. I mean, I'm a half French, half American woman dating a British Jewish man. That alone is a hilarious predicament. But
Yeah,
I
I only
dated
like half of you. Can you guess what half it is?
exactly.
The
It's
American side, not the French side. We're actively saying about being British to actively disdain the French.
it's a mess. It's a mess, honestly. But I mean, you
We
talk
haven't got over
about
1066.
you talk about the cancer ward being like one of the darkest comedy spaces.
Yeah.
Of course, I've lost people to cancer, and that's a whole thing that I talk about in my set. But the other thing is like, I dated a man for a long period of time, and while we were dating, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I had to drop everything and take care of this man. And I learned a lot about myself in the process. But he gave me full permission because I asked. this is also controversial. Some people believe you should never ask for permission to do jokes about somebody. I believe that it is necessary morally and ethically. And so I asked him, can I make jokes about the fact that you have cancer? And he said yes, to his credit. And people never know how to take those jokes that I do about that I do and did about my ex. He's still very much alive and he is well on the way to recovery. But you know, there's some things that I would say and people just didn't know if they could laugh. Whereas if you had people in the audience who had had cancer or who knew someone who had cancer, they were bent over laughing at those jokes. So I realized that sometimes my jokes might not be for everybody, but there's someone in the room who is really enjoying what I'm saying.
And you don't want to. I always feel like in comedy, you don't want to play to the whole room on every single joke.
Yeah,
because then
exactly.
it's too, you know, it's too saturated, it's too universal.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's always going to be someone who's going to get offended on someone else's behalf. And the politest thing to say is "fuck them people."
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to do you. So, what's the worst thing you've seen on stage? Then someone do.
You mean like something that I got offended by?
No, just something like you've seen someone doing. It's like this isn't, you know, funny anymore. This is more delusion.
Mm,
And I'll give you my example. I've seen a guy for a 5 minute set pretend to make love to a invisible cow, and it was a 5 minute set. And you know, it's like I can't even see where the funny side was on this. Like that was more delusion than comedy.
I've seen comedians give blowjobs to the microphone, fuck the stool, the classics. Sorry about that.
Standard, yeah.
Camera. But I think, yeah, I think the least funny thing I've ever seen probably was a self-professed male dark comedian doing jokes about pedophilia and domestic abuse, if you could call them jokes. And it was just like 5 minutes of like just horrendous shit. And it wasn't structured as jokes. It was just things that that kind of person would find funny. They're just statements, you know? And I feel like
They're trying to say it as like an alternative persona where you know of evidently it's actually their narrative.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like if you're gonna say horrible shit, you need to package it nicely.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
juice has got to be worth the squeeze.
Exactly. I mean, I was doing a joke up until recently that I really, really liked, about James actually, and it's a completely true story. It was like the so we spent a night together, and basically in this joke, it's obviously it's a sex joke, and afterwards I like turn around and I look at him and I go, "So, what's your position on Israel Palestine?"
Yeah. Oh.
And that's a true story that actually happened, and the way that I phrase it on stage is different. And I've done that joke
For the climax.
Yeah, exactly.
Just before you come, what's your view?
That's literally what I did. He hadn't even finished yet. It was hilarious. And I do a joke about this on stage. I recognize now that maybe I should have said that because his family might watch this. If you're watching this, I promise you I'm a good person and I am not anti-Semitic. And also I am not disgusting. But I've done that joke in front of a room of 520 people and it absolutely killed. And then I did that joke here to a crowd of 10 retired British people, and it like got received a total silence. And I guess, you know, there's some dark shit that I say, there's some messed up shit that I say that I do think it's not completely for everybody. But in that moment, I just acknowledged it and I was like, oh, we don't have fans of the conflict in Gaza in here, and that got a laugh. But
we have some foreskin lovers out there.
Yeah, exactly. I have some jokes I do have some slightly more political jokes because I did study political science. But yeah, it's just so interesting to see how different people receive the exact same joke. And also like there's obviously boundaries when you're joking about people that you know or people that you're dating. Like there's jokes that I actually haven't posted Neither has James. He and I have not posted any jokes that we do about each other, like the videos or whatnot. That's a conscious decision because we have complicated feelings about posting jokes about loved ones or people that we know.
Okay.
I think the closest I've ever gotten to posting about someone that I know is posting about my ex who gave me permission, but it was just like a one-off, and then like my parents. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting to see how different people receive the same kind of political humor as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know I tend to stay away from political humor because I think it can split a room so quick, and people
Oh yeah.
they silly stupidly passionate about some things. It's same as football. Like I just stay away from talking about football because you know, yeah, football, politics, and religion. I just I
Oh,
say that
okay.
that's a
The Holy
complete lie.
Trinity.
You know it, yeah, because I learned that from owning a pub. Like, just stay away from them conversations. I like the. It's always my second to last question that I love answering. Answering, brilliant. Asking. Don't really care about the first bit, but I ask it to be nice. What's been your favourite moment in comedy so far, and what time did we bomb the hardest?
Trying to remember my most recent epic bomb. Um, I think bombing is important to humble yourself. And if
Yep,
you're not bombing, either you are a genius or you've worked enough to where you have like an accomplished set, or you're not trying any new material.
safe.
And you know, you have like you have people who do stunts who regularly break their bones because they're trying new stunts. And I think if you're not trying new stunts, you're never gonna perform as a stunt performer. You're never gonna improve as a stunt performer. And it's the same thing for stand-up comedians. You're not you gotta keep breaking bones and trying those new stunts. For me, if I'm not bombing, it means I'm not trying new shit. It means I'm not going out of my comfort zone. It doesn't happen to me too often anymore. But it's usually has to do with the fact that I'm performing to a room of older people. I usually struggle connecting with the older people. Um, although I have finally figured out how to get out of that situation. But I think recently
Racism and pension safeguarding. Done.
exactly.
Win it every time.
So I think my most recent bomb. I mean, it depends what do you consider a bomb? Do you mean like total silence or
Just just a moment where you're like, oh, that joke sucked, or like the room weren't vibing. But also, if you haven't got like a self-evident one, that's quite good as well. Because I'll tell you my favourite one to date I've had on this.
okay?
There's a comedian, Alex Mitchell. He was a finalist in Britain's Got Talent last year.
Yeah,
And, do you know him?
I
No.
remember this. Yeah, yeah. But tell me.
Oh, and when he just started out in comedy, he's heavily queer comedian, and he only had queer comedy at the time. He had no other material. He was doing a set in Burnley to only two people, and just as he was about to hit his queerest bit, 50 Burnley builders walk into the room. Proper like lad, tits, fanny face. Wee. Look, lads walk in. As he's doing it, they all throw fish at him on the stage.
I did not know
Like,
the story. Jesus Christ.
that is brilliant. Okay, I'll give you another one then. Ali Woods,
Yeah,
yeah,
Ali.
amazing comedian, and I need to stress it up. He never did, but he was doing Comedy Store when he first started out, when he was seven star making it, and he did a joke where his hair went like that, and he never stole this, but someone from the crowd shouted, "You stole that joke off Sean Locke," and he had to leave the stage to about 300 people booing because they thought he'd stole a joke, which he never did.
Oh my God. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I have had a comedian accuse me of not even accuse me of joke theft, but I was emceeing this show as a favor to a good friend of mine from the Paris scene. And there was this comic on stage who did a joke and then said, oh yeah, CeeKay is gonna steal that joke, post it online, and get several million views after this show.
Oh, that's bitchy.
And then I came on stage and I had to MC after that. And I will say the room was like cold to me for about 2 minutes. It was really difficult to come out of that and kind of like tell them I don't steal other people's jokes, perform them, and then post them online and then go viral. Like what?
Yeah.
That was definitely rough. So I can sympathize with Ali with that. I think I'm just trying to think of the most recent bomb that I had. I think the most recent bomb that I had was doing my Israel-Palestine joke to a room of 10 old people after going on. The person who went on stage before me was a retired dominatrix from London. And then I go on stage, the only American on the lineup. And I do a bunch of political self-deprecating humor about being half French, half American, and then I whip out an Israel-Palestine joke, and then there was just like silence. And I saved it, but it was like that feeling, like I came off stage and I was like, maybe I should quit comedy.
Yeah. I used to have a pop out that I use. I don't use it anymore. So you've got my full permission. If I do a joke and it sucks, I always go, okay, well, I'm just going to call that joke Israel because it bombed.
Oh my God, that's
Like,
horrible.
it's such a cop out, but it gets the little like sniggers back. It sort of like wins them back
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
really good. I like that. I'm not gonna. I'll keep that in the back of my head. I'll just find an equivalent.
So also one quick one I learned from Alice Frick, who does Laughing Labia in London, and
Okay.
I try and tell this to as much people as possible. I was never aware of it, but as a male comedian, you've got to be aware of the lineup on the bill. So say if you was after me on a bill, I won't do any women hating content. Like,
Mm,
like, oh, my ex-girlfriend was a bitch or things like that. I don't do it anyways, because then you are subconsciously putting that in their mindset for the next act. And I thought that was very powerful. It was like I would never do, if a black comedian was after me, I wouldn't do any black jokes because you're setting up a false pretense
I
narrative
like that.
for the next comedian. And that was something I
Yeah,
was never aware of.
I like that, and I think that's really good. Ollie Horn has this. Everybody knows about it. His famous MC tips sheet. And I think, although I could be misremembering, that on his MC tips sheet, it says something along the lines of, don't spoil the next act, something along those lines. I have seen MCs and other comedians literally do the first two jokes of the next person's set before they come on stage. I've seen that. And I was just completely mind blown that people would do that. I feel like the
Yeah.
show etiquette was just out of the window. Um,
MC's job is to hype the comedians, not hype themselves.
yeah, exactly. But just coming back to your previous question about what my favorite moment on stage was, I think my favorite moment so far in my stand-up career was when I was at Am I Comedy Club in Ghent on tour with Andy Huggins. I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Huggins. He's in his 70s and he's from Texas and he was on AGT. That man is such a lovely person, such a wonderful human being, and utterly hilarious. Brings the house down every time with basically an hour of straight one-liners. No stories. I mean, there were stories, but it's like every single line is a one-liner with a punchline. And I opened for him, and he came on stage, and there's a photo of us like hugging
Oh.
before he took the stage. I think that was my favorite moment, and we stayed in touch since he went back to Texas. I kind of joke that like he doesn't have any like grandchildren. I kind of joke that like I have adopted him.
I'll take the inheritance, don't you worry.
No, it's just like he's just such a great guy. Such a sweetheart. I couldn't believe that he was touring on his own with zero assistance because he was trying to carry this huge suitcase around. So I wound up traveling with him for most of his tour because I just realized it was not fair to him for him to have to do all of that on his own. And then it's so funny because I just learned all of his habits and stuff. So I felt like I really felt like I was in The Devil Wears Prada. Like I felt like I was his like personal but I was really enjoying it. I felt like I was his assistant, but in the
Nice
best way
Meryl Streep.
possible. I think
Nice
that's been
Meryl
my
Streep.
favorite moment. It's not about me. It's funny that my favorite moment in my stand-up career is not really about me, but about the fact that I feel like it was just a really good friendship that I acquired from that experience. Yeah.
And to be fair, I think it's beautiful that your best moment hasn't been on stage. It's been the rest of the package.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
do you know what? On this podcast, I've never actually told anyone my one. My favourite moment ever was after doing Covent Gardens. I ended up getting pissed with a burlesque dancer and a drag queen.
It's
And we were just
amazing.
there, just drinking Prosecco for about 4 hours, getting absolutely smashed. And it was just, we were all just hurling abuse at each other, but in a funny way. And it was
Oh,
just such a beautiful moment that I would have never, ever had.
yeah. Makes
Like,
total sense. Without comedy, these are the moments that you would never have access to
yeah.
in a normal life.
And it's beautiful. Right, I'll end it with this one, CeeKay. I always end it with this. Right, someone comes to you, they've never done comedy before, they're a little bit nervous to get on stage. What advice would you give them? And you can't say, just do it.
Um, well, I think I have a few comedy friends who I have given advice to because I was emceeing the show or show running. And I say the same thing every time. The audience is here to laugh. You're here to have fun. And
That's
usually,
cool.
usually that does the trick because they're like, oh yeah, they are here to laugh and I have fun. Usually it'll be okay. Now, sometimes that does go horrifically wrong because the comedian's idea of having fun is saying atrocities on stage. But sometimes it goes really, really well. I think a classic example is my good friend Anya Solovyeva. She's a Russian American comedian, started out last year, I believe. Um, I think it was last year. Oh my God, my brain. But it was at Countdown Comedy, the place where I started, and I remember her being an absolute nervous wreck. She was very nervous. She said so. And she came up with me with her notes and she was just like, I'm really nervous. Do you have any advice? Which I found so interesting because she seemed so confident. And I just said like the audience is here to laugh. You're here to have fun. And then I looked at her set and it was so well structured for honestly, I think maybe she was the exception to the rule because her first set was so well structured. But um she came off stage after that and said that she really appreciated it. And I kept that line twice in my head for future comics, I think, after that moment.
That's a great advice. I've learned from that as well. Yeah, and that's like beautiful. That's yeah. I'm gonna write that on a wall somewhere. All right, that is that's cool.
It's a
Let's
bit
see.
corny. I mean, I have also like it depends on the person as well. Like if it's a brand new comic who I barely know, if it's someone who I know and they're nervous, I'm usually just gonna be like, fucking get over yourself. You could do
Yeah,
this. Like,
don't be a bitch.
yeah, exactly. Um, it depends on the day, like if I'm really hormonal as a woman, that sometimes I don't want to hear, don't be a pussy, but sometimes I do want to hear that. Just fucking just get through it. But if it's a new person, they don't know what get through it means. It's their first time, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Insert dark humor here, whatever. But yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's the piece of advice that I give to a newcomer if they come up to me. Yeah.
Brilliant. CeeKay, look, thank you ever so much for coming on. Enjoy the rest of the fringe. And yeah,
Thank you.
hopefully see you on the circuit sometime. And thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, I'd love that. You were great. Thank you so much for having me. Take care and yeah, see you around.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Cheers, guys.